Now that we understand that we can use schemas and that we probably will use them because our application typically works with certain types of data, certain schemas, and that we had a look at the data types you can use, the different integers, text, and so on. Now that we had a look at all of that, let's see how we can think about modeling our schemas. And I want to give you some guidelines or hints that you can keep in mind when you think about how should I structure my data. We'll not look at relations yet. I'll come to that next though. But thus far, let's see what we got. One important question is, which data does my app need or generate? And the term app definitely should be understood in a very broad sense here. This can be a mobile app, this can be a website, it could be a smart device generating data, like a tracker, a fitness tracker sending GPS coordinates. So this is a very broad definition of app. The idea is my business model, you could say. Which data does it need and or generate? And it can be anything: user information, product information, orders, coordinates, anything like that. And this will define the fields you'll generally need. And of course, also already a bit how they relate. A user might order products. So this gives you the general frame for your data structure. You then also have to think about, where do I need my data? So for example, if you're building a website, do I need it on the welcome page, on the products list page, on the orders page? And which kind of data do I need on all these pages? Because the idea with MongoDB is that you store your data in the format you need it in your application. And if you need the same data in different formats, you want to find a good structure that covers all these use cases, or if absolutely necessary, you could even split it into multiple collections. So this defines your required collections. For example, that you have an orders collection for the orders page, that you have a products collection for the products page, and it also defines which fields you have in the documents of a collection and how you might group these fields together, so how you might relate these fields. More about relations in a second. You also should ask yourself, which kind of data or information do I want to display? So on these different pages, which kind of data do I want to show on there? And that again defines which queries you will need then. So do I display a list of products or a single product? Is it a find or find one query? How should I configure this query? Am I looking for a product with a specific ID, or am I looking for all products? And Manual will take a detailed look at how you can configure your find queries to narrow down the set of found products, of course. These queries also, or the kind of queries you plan, also have an impact on your collections and your document structure. Because as I already said, MongoDB really embraces that idea of planning your data structure based on the way you'll retrieve your data, so that you don't have to do complex joins, but that you can retrieve your data in the format, or almost in the format, you need it in your application. You also need to ask yourself, how often do I fetch my data? On every page reload, or every second, or not that often? Because that also tells you if you should optimize for easy fetching, because you're fetching a lot, but maybe you're not writing data that much. So you might be fine with having some duplicate data if that speeds up the fetching process, because you don't have to join data manually. Or do you often write and change your data? If you have an application where your data gets changed a lot, or parts of your data get changed a lot, you want to ensure that these parts of the data that do get changed a lot, let's say we have a lot of orders, but the product metadata doesn't change that often, you want to make sure that your orders are not unnecessarily duplicated across collections, but that you have one collection with your orders where you can write new orders too. Product metadata, on the other hand, might be distributed across different collections because, well, you don't change it that often. So if you change it, you have to touch multiple collections, but that's no problem. The main focus is that you can fetch that data from the different parts of your application in the format you need it. So these are some things for you to keep in mind or to think about. And if that is a lot right now, that is totally normal. No worries, we'll see all that throughout the course, and we'll have many examples so that you can get a feeling for, well, how you might approach that and how we would structure data in a certain scenario. And one important thing that is related to these questions is, of course, the question about how you model relations between different entities in your data. And that is what I'll take a look at next.